We're back on the Morgan Streetman Show, and we are going to go out there this week.
Well, we're finally going to get to a series of stories that we've been trying to get to for a couple of weeks or a few weeks now. It's a great series of stories. We're trying to bring these things to your attention. We do not have time in the remaining amount of time on this show. Even if we took the whole show, we truthfully don't have time to cover all the interesting details about these stories. So we just want to call them to your attention for your own further study on some of this. And our first story involves what amounts to a chat bot, but this is a lot more than a chat bot. It's called GPT-3, Generative Pre-Trained Transformer version 3. And it's basically a highly sophisticated artificial intelligence chatbot that is currently in existence in a wide variety of applications, and that is growing. Currently, this particular chatbot is interacting with people and producing approximately 5 billion words per day. So you could even be talking to this chatbot and not know it. It is so sophisticated that when you communicate with it, you actually think you're talking to a human being. Most times, it's got about 175 billion different parameters that it operates on when it decides how to best respond to your queries. Now, this can be used as a chat bot. It can be used in customer service applications. So you can communicate with it in natural language. So you could just say, hey, there's something wrong with my airplane ticket. Can you help me? And it will actually go and it'll find your ticket and it'll analyze it. It'll try to figure out what's wrong with your ticket, and it'll try to help you without you having to get into without you having to know how to code. You don't have to communicate with this AI through computer coding. You can just communicate with it through regular old natural language. It can analyze things, so it can identify themes and summarize communications and feedback. So now think about all the customer complaints coming into a company, and the company can just say, run GPT on those complaints, and GPT tell us what problems are our customers.
Will it say
having? It won't say That's the great thing about it. It doesn't say
How
it's
about
perfect.
That's your annoyance. That's
So what we'd like you to know after reading all these comments is, this company sucks. So anyway. It can run math equations. You could say, hey, run this complicated math equation, and you could just do it verbally, and it'll run the equation for you. This thing is unbelievable. And again, it's right now in the form of just a text back and forth chat bot. But game designers even are using it to create what they're calling virtual entities within video games. Now, it isn't yet fully self-aware, although it claims to be self-aware. But at this point, it's just a computer algorithm that is running, a very, very complex algorithm that is running. It's machine learning, as we've discussed, which is big data, which is a massive volume of inputs, and from that developing patterns and learning how humans talk to each other, learning how to respond to certain queries by doing things like scanning the entire internet. Okay, that's the kind of thing that gets built into these AI systems, these machine learning systems. It claims that it's going to reach the singularity when asked directly in the year 2042. Now, we'll see if that actually happens. But the point is, I don't think we're aware of just how sophisticated artificial intelligence has gotten. And we're going to start to interact with artificial intelligence, and we're not even going to know it. We're not even going to realize we're not talking to a human or we're not interacting with a human. Now, interestingly, GPT-3, when interviewed, talks about desiring to communicate with humans telepathically, and that plays right into our next stories in terms of coming technology, brand new technology that's out there that you need to know about, and that is a device called the Kernel Helmet, Kernel, like a kernel of corn. The Kernel Helmet right now is selling for about $50,000 and is being distributed to research institutions, large manufacturers who might be able to integrate some of this technology into some of their existing or future product development. But this Kernel Helmet is basically a helmet that you can put on that essentially, just to break it down and simplify it for folks, it can read your thoughts. It can literally read your thoughts. Now, it's not perfect yet, and that's why the person who developed it, who's actually a guy named Brian Johnson, and he's the founder of a company called Braintree. I don't know if you remember Braintree, but basically how Braintree got made is Braintree bought Venmo. There's a name I'm sure you'll know. Braintree bought Venmo for $26 million in 2012, and then in 2013, Braintree was bought by eBay for $800 million, mostly to acquire the Venmo payment processing system that so many people use. Now, the cost of this currently, like I said, is about $50,000 to acquire one of these beta testing units so that you can start to play around with this mind-reading brain device, this interface, and so that developers can start to use it. But the guy who developed it, Brian Johnson, he says he hopes to get it down to the cost of approximately a smartphone. So I'm thinking probably in the $1,000 to $2,000 range by the year 2030, so that everybody can have one of these at home. So everybody can have a mind-reading device that you could put on your head, and it can just read your thoughts and probably communicate those thoughts to GPT-3, right? And have a conversation with GPT-3 telepathically, the same way that GPT-3 wants to do that. Now, lest you think Brian Johnson's the only one and Colonel is the only one working on some kind of a brain-computer interface, we know from Elon Musk that's not true. And there's actually been another new BCI, brain-computer interface, that's come out. That's a chip that they can actually implant into the human brain, and they've been testing it. This is out of the BrainGate project, right? Open the brain up, the BrainGate project, and it can translate thoughts to text at 90 words per minute with a better than 90% accuracy. So it can literally read your mind.
Go ahead.
I couldn't translate my thoughts to anything. They're just a bunch of thoughts floating around. And if either of you put a brain reader on my head right now, I would panic and just think weird, crazy, inappropriate things.
What about
right?
this for criminals, though?
Well, yeah, can we get the criminals to all be wearing these helmets so we could beat them? We know where they're going to go rob. We already know.
Or what they've already done.
Or what they've done. Yeah, there you go, Pat George. Good luck hiding anything in the future from the investigators. They'll just put a Colonel helmet on you, and you won't be able to keep from revealing it.
It's the Tom Cruise movie.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
Now, one last story. We've got to just at least mention this, folks. You got to look into this. There's a brand new quantum computer system that's developed by the Harvard MIT Center for Ultra-Cold Atoms. This particular quantum computer is the most powerful that we've read about in the world. It's got 256 qubits. That is up from about 51 qubits was the most powerful system they had developed. Just to give you an idea, the number of quantum states that are possible with 256 qubits exceeds the number of atoms in the solar system. Now, remember, each quantum state can be a storage unit for data, so it exceeds the number of atoms in the solar system. Can you imagine how many atoms are in the solar system? It's unbelievable how powerful this technology is. I'm Morgan Streetman, and that's the way I see it. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.